so I called the meeting to order at 5:37.
Yeah, that's what I was just gonna say. Are you taking minutes tonight?
Oh.
I think they're going alphabetically. If Billy did the last ones, we do next, but I'd have to look at my email.
You don't have to do this, we always just have the existing chair do it until there's a new election.
I was just gonna do
But if you
election
want
of
to,
the
go
chair.
ahead.
This is the
Go ahead.
one time that I can start.
Okay. Go ahead.
What time are we calling it?
So 5:37. And so we're gonna start with approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Public comment?
Now's your chance.
No.
Okay. And then approval of the consent agenda, recommendation to approve minutes of February 8th and the 29th.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. And then recommendation to approve bills.
Lorraine's not here, do you guys have the bills numbers?
I don't have those numbers.
Neither do we have them? Okay, so we'll have to wait on that.
Hold on that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Are they in this email, financial reports?
They should be.
I can pull them up here. No, is there one on it? No, we want director's orders, right?
Mhm.
Where's John do that?
ID4 food service and general fund director's orders.
Oh, there it is. Director's orders total.
56,448.47.
But has the finance committee approved these?
Yes.
Oh, they haven't, okay.
Yeah, Lorraine and I approved them
That was food service?
yesterday. That was food service.
No, that was director's orders.
That was director's orders, I'm sorry.
Did you get that number?
Mm-hmm.
And then this should be general, no, this is general fund.
I said we wait for Lorraine.
Okay.
Okay.
Because here,
It says director's orders.
orders 95,956.18.
But this is definitely general fund.
So do you want to table this until?
Yeah,
Okay.
table. I think those are right, but let's just double check it.
The first number really was food service.
Yeah.
It was director's orders for food service. Sorry, Jason, the 56,000 is food service.
Okay.
So we can approve that one.
Yep, do you want to approve recommendation for approval of food service? Or motion for
Yep.
approval?
Motion to approve food service at 56,448.47.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Board reorganization, so election of new officers, and we'll start with the chair, and then I will hand this over to the chair. Nominations for chair? Or do you just want to appoint?
Nominate Hardy, chair.
Hardy, okay, second,
A second.
any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Robert.
All right, Ruth, it's all yours.
Thanks. So I was talking to Amy before the meeting about this, and Lorraine and I were talking about it earlier, which is that 4 of us, which is a quorum of this board, is on a new board when it becomes a board. And that can't be helped, it's gonna happen, and that's the way it is, but one thing that Lorraine and I thought made sense was that the officers of this board shouldn't be members of the new board. And so that I could stay on as chair until the new board becomes a real board, it's not yet. And then the remaining non-new board members on this board would step up to be officers of this board. And you could have a chair and then somebody be vice chair / clerk. and then just have 2 officers would be fine. I don't think there's gonna be a lot for this board to do, but having the property transfers signed by somebody who's on this board that's not on the other board would be better, I think, for legal kosher, making it not look like we're signing property over to ourselves and just quite so much, if you know what I mean? So Lorraine is happy to be vice chair, I can be chair, and Amy will stay on as clerk. And then when the new board starts, maybe Amy could become chair and Leslie could be clerk and vice chair. Or we have to appoint a new person, so maybe that person could be clerk, I don't know. Or just immediately make them an officer of the board. I don't know, I mean, just, what do you guys think? I mean, maybe it's okay, I don't know, I reached out to other
I was gonna
people.
say, what are the other board, I suppose they don't have the same numbers problem.
They don't have a quorum issue that we
Right.
have, we are the only board that has
Right.
4. But they do have, Peter Conlon and JP Reese are currently the chair and vice chair of the UD3 board. I don't know if they will remain after this meeting. And then Chris Eaton is the current chair of the Weybridge board, and I don't know if he'll remain. I did email them and suggest that maybe they do a similar thing, but obviously we can't tell them what to do. It was
Right.
just kind of a thought that I had that, because there's already gonna be a little bit of awkward overlapping, just sort of whatever we can do to make it less. What do you think, Jason? You're on the new board. Maybe it doesn't matter, but.
I think it makes sense. I'm not sure that it really technically matters, but in the event that it did,
Yeah.
it'd just be better to be in that position anyway.
Yeah, I think perception kind of matters. So,
Even though when people voted, they voted knowing that the property would be transferred and that was part of the
right,
deal. It's not like we were
they
deciding
voted-
independently of do that.
right. And they voted for Jason and me for both boards.
Right.
They knew
Right.
they were doing that, so
Right.
I mean, probably it
Right.
doesn't matter. I just sort of feel like I always want to make sure things are as clean and as kind of
Right.
as comfortable for people as
Yeah.
possible. And I don't think this board will have a ton to do except for pay the bills and, if things come up, then,
Right.
Tom is here would let us know, oh, you gotta call a meeting and deal with this.
Just one
Okay.
significant facility, for instance, emergent facility.
Yeah,
That's
hopefully
right.
there won't be, but if there is, but
Yeah.
we'll talk about this more in the ACSU board meeting, but I think one of the things is that anything that's sort of forward-looking would be the purview of the new board, and only sort of the day-to-day current stuff will be the purview of the current boards. Okay. So, I mean, we don't have to vote on this, we only have to vote on the officers now, but it would be nice to have an understanding that that's what we're gonna do. Okay. So, vice chair is Lorraine and clerk is Amy. Is there a motion for that?
Move.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, great. So the only committees we need are the finance committee to pay the bills and the ACSU committee, the people who are gonna be serving on the ACSU board. And what the ACSU board still kind of remains to be seen. There's a bit of a confusion as to what the role of that board will be.
Where they wondered if it would continue to exist, since
Yeah.
there will be the unified board that would do all the same work.
Yeah, and I think technically it still continues to exist, but whether or not it will have any duties, I don't know, but it will be meeting tonight, so we have to appoint representatives to it. And then, go
Can I
ahead.
just ask,
Yeah.
no rolling, is your secretary a rolling secretary, the recording secretary? It sounds like you do it rolling
Yeah.
based on alphabetical order.
Yeah, and the clerk
Okay.
sets up that schedule, so,
Okay.
and Amy did it last, she knows what to do.
Okay, great.
And then the clerk just signs whatever clerks need to sign.
Great.
So the finance committee this year was Leslie, Victoria,
Right.
and Lorraine. Are you guys okay with sticking with those roles? I think Lorraine is. Okay. And then the ACSU was Amy, Jason, and me. That's nice, it splits the three of us up, so,
What was this for the delegates?
for the delegates to ACSU
It was you, Jason,
and Amy.
and Amy, okay.
And I think Victoria, you were the alternate.
Yes,
So-
the never needed alternate.
Yeah. Well, amazingly, made
I
it
know.
to every single meeting. That was.
In fact, until you just said that, I sort of forgot.
Yeah, that's impressive, I don't think that's ever happened. So are we good with those, continuing with those? Motion?
So moved.
Okay, thank you. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Awesome. I have not talked to our MCTV or our town rep board reps to make sure they're okay with it. I'm assuming Jennifer Molyneux is good with continuing with MCTV. I'm not sure about Elaine because she just got a new job, but I'm not sure. You haven't touched base with her, have you, Jason?
None of those.
Yeah, so I don't know, so maybe we should hold off.
Okay.
They'll continue to go to those meetings, I can't imagine that.
And what is this MCTV and?
And the
Rec board.
town rec board?
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you have forms that we need to deal with now, Vicki? There were some things.
Do we need to move and vote on that? Or just gonna hold off on that?
The MCTV in town, we'll just hold off and do it whenever this board meets again.
So I have, from David, board authorization for invoice payments and financial statement. So there's a copy for each of you of the memo. And then there is a board resolution, for folks, there's 4 board resolutions. 3 board resolutions for folks to sign?
That we all need to sign?
No, 2 board resolutions for you to sign, board chair and other ID for board officer for the positions granted, are the business manager and the ACSU superintendent to open or close accounts with the accounts underneath. And then the second one is, to review payment and sign director's orders.
Okay.
So if you can fill those in and sign them.
Which we all signed for, right? Last year.
So, any 2 board members, is that what we decided last year?
I think last year, we had everybody signed and was able to sign in case we got in a situation where someone needed to sign something and
Because
the finance board wasn't available.
I
Yeah.
think in there, and I don't have a copy of it, but I think in there's you can either sign 2 or all.
I think,
I need 2 board
I think
members,
we-
right?
Any 2 board members means that
Yeah,
any of us could do it as long as there are 2 of us.
Yeah.
That's the box question.
Yeah.
We wanna check, right? And also the board of directors requests the board distribution, to every board member, the distribution
yeah.
of the finances, okay. So this just means
And that's just the memo. I just
Amy
read
to
it.
sign the other
so
ones.
we should actually probably move.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
I move the resolution.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, this is awesome.
So Joyce signing or other ID4 board member,
Yep.
that's me?
Yeah.
That's
So,
it?
yeah, I think it's just 2 spots.
Okay. So on these copies we passed around, we don't have to do anything, this was just for our information.
Thanks, Vicki. So we have a vacancy on the board. If anyone's out there listening to us, we have a vacancy on the board. This board will not have a lot of duties this year, so if you're interested to see what school boards are like and would like to join the board, we will be accepting letters of interest. I'm assuming, yeah? We have to, the law says that we shall appoint, so we have to appoint somebody. We can't say, well, there's not much to do this year. So we at least have to try. So we can accept letters of interest with a resume and a letter sent to me, the board chair, which is rhardy@acsu.org, or you could send them to Peter Burrows, the superintendent, eburrows@acsu.org. And let us know you're interested in serving on the IU4 board for its last year in existence. It's pretty exciting. But all that being said, if you all know anybody who might be interested in doing it, who might want to learn about what boards do and then maybe serve on the other board at some point, it'd be a good kind of dip your toe in first. So we should try to appoint that person at our next meeting. So I can ask, usually Mary puts something in the paper. Would you mind asking her to do that?
You do
And
that?
then just have them, whoever, a letter of interest and a resume sent to me. And maybe put something up on the Mary Hogan website. Okay, that'd be great. Thanks, Tom. Is there any discussion about that? All right, principals report.
So I carried over the same, I'm going to correct the same typo I did before. Our current enrollment is 429, not 439. And no changes since last report. Some information around curriculum and instruction. Our teachers have all received training and have been certified to administer the Smarter Balanced Assessment in April and May. And support staff will also be trained by the end of March. There'll be a letter coming home on March 18th to explain in greater detail some things about the testing. The school leadership team met. We had a retreat on March 3rd, and we spent a good deal of time planning for the professional development for the faculty and staff for this coming Wednesday. And we'll continue to work on some of our responsive classroom activities and topics in regard to creating a safe and welcoming school culture. And we also did some work on a draft schedule for the 16-17 school year, which includes the big addition to that schedule is going to be the world language teaching and some additional, and I believe now some additional enrichment opportunities because of how that schedule is working out. I look forward to sharing that with you all at a later date once we have it finalized, but as you can imagine with 20+ sections and a lot of moving parts on that schedule that we need to fine tune before we release anything final. There's a facilities note here. We did have a water leak during the cold spell at the end of the Feb break, and Middlebury Fire and Rescue responded along with our maintenance staff. We stopped the leak, and we think you'll remember 2 years ago we had a leak in that wing. Also, there's some air infiltration and insulation issues, and we have again redoubled our efforts to find those and make sure that we've addressed all of them so that we don't have a future occurrence like this. Some events. You may have attended the Shakespeare It's Elementary presentation of Julius Caesar that our 6th graders took part in along with Shoreham and Leicester schools. Great event. 2 performances happened on Thursday the 10th. And we'd like to give a thank you to the Town Hall Theater and in particular Director Lindsay Pontius and Harry Longy, who worked tirelessly to bring this production about. And it does allow all of our students as they go through school in their 6th grade year to be exposed to Town Hall Theater and understand a whole bunch more about stagecraft and acting and all the places that they might be able to participate in theater as they move through school. If they don't just want to be an actor, there's a whole bunch of other things they learn as well. Pegasus Theater will be presenting Cinderella's Glass Slipper on April 8th at 7 p.m. And Pegasus Theater is under the direction of Debbie Hadika, Assistant Amanda Cheever, Chuck Miller, Music Director. Renee Rosidi is helping with set design. And we hope you can put that on your calendar and plan on attending. We had a sixth grade student who won the Mary Hogan School GOB, and she'll be competing in the state competition on April 1st at Middlebury College, and I've attached a March calendar.
Okay,
I'll be answering any questions.
are there any questions for Tom? Jason? Okay. All right, awesome. Thanks, Tom.
Welcome.
And what's the next thing on our agenda? Sorry. We have a bunch of policies, so, oh no, the McGilton fund, okay, sorry. I have talked to, so we've gotten several suggestions from constituents, and we talked about this a little bit. The McGilton fund, making sure it's in a place that is good going forward, and that it's sort of permanently tagged for Middlebury students. I have a conversation with Patrick Berry, who is the vice president at the Community Foundation, as an option of investing it in the Community Foundation as a directed fund. What they do is similar to a bank. I have their whole stuff here if people want to look at it. Except for they specialize in endowed funds for nonprofit organizations and schools and public organizations. The Cornwall School has a little endowment. They did this. They moved it over to the Community Foundation. And then we, the ID4 board, could do it with the current use, but also we could add, more protections in the language when we move it over there, if we want to. I haven't had a chance to look at all of this, but in talking to Patrick, it sounds like, it's a decent option. What I'm not quite clear on is the specific distinctions between the difference between what People's Bank does for us versus what the Community Foundation would do. The Community Foundation invests it with a pool of other funds, but I think People's does also. Is that your understanding? That it's part of a more investment pool. So I'm not positive of the difference, but I do think the one thing this board should probably do is make sure we feel comfortable with where the McGilton fund is before we cease to exist, because it's an asset that's been around for decades for Middlebury students, and anybody who's served on this board sort of thinks of it as some part of their job to protect those funds. So a lot of former board members have talked to me. We had a constituent talk to us, and then teachers are concerned, and I'm sure Tom wants to make sure that it stays with Mary Hogan.
Mhm.
So just, anyway.
So would moving it to the Community Foundation make it more protected? I thought we had the understanding that it was protected either way, but funds going forward would stay for their current purposes.
Yeah, they will, but whether or not the language that we have right now within the McGilton Fund is tight enough to make sure that it, in 25 years. I mean, it certainly will, as we're all still involved. I mean, as long as the four of us are on the new board, and Tom's the principal, and Peter's the superintendent and everything, I can't imagine that anybody's gonna suggest, but maybe in 25 years, somebody might say, hey, why is this for Middlebury students only? Why don't we use it for everybody? And maybe that's not a bad thing, but I also, since we're the last standing Middlebury School Board, we've had this fund for so many years. It's something
So
we might
maybe
want to
do we need to get legal counsel to see if it's, the way it's written is for eternity, or?
The language on the fund says that it's for the use of the Middlebury School,
Right.
but it's, whether or not it's I don't know. I mean, I think that it's always safer to have the language more airtight, just in my experience with endowed funds.
Mhm.
Like, if there's a way to interpret it in a different way, people might.
Right.
Well, is it currently for the purpose of Mary Hogan School or for students who reside in Middlebury?
It's for
Do you know
the Middlebury School.
Because that's what it was.
Yeah. It was actually originally for the Middlebury Town School that then became the I-4 school. It's like weird in Vermont, like great.
And I brought a copy of the policy if anyone wants to see it.
Yeah, and we have and our policy, our ID4 board policy is specific to being used for enrichment, and then we have the restrictions on it. And, you know, the People's United guy thought that it was secure enough, but, you know, I don't know. And then I heard some feedback from a couple board members that they weren't thrilled with the returns that we were getting at People's, and so I don't know if that would be better at the Community Foundation or not. So I guess I'm just trying to figure out if this is an avenue we wanna pursue, or if we're comfortable with doing as well.
So, are we talking about, so currently this board controls the fund and the policy around the fund. That would obviously transfer whatever the current policy is into the new board if we don't do anything differently, right? But of course, the new board sets its own policy, so
Right.
that could be rewritten. Are we, when you describe moving it to the Vermont Community Foundation, are they acting as the investment vehicle, or do they actually take ownership of the fund per the directives that it's transferred in?
So it used to be that they actually took ownership of the fund, but they got a lot of pushback on that. So apparently now there's an option where they don't actually, that they're not actually the owners of the fund, that whoever we name as the owners of the fund would, and it would be the ACSD board, but we could maybe set up language that it's like the Middlebury representatives of the ACSD board or something else that would be directing the fund. If we're moving it into a community-directed community foundation fund, I think we have more.
I don't know what we're,
Options.
I mean, because the community foundation, they're not picking stocks, they're, someone else is doing that for them?
They have
So-
they have an investor who invests, and they have a socially responsible pool, like, so I asked if we could use our social screens, and they said,
Right.
yes, we could use the same social
And
screens.
are their
and-
fees the same as people's?
Their fees are different, and I haven't done a comparison. I just got this information yesterday, so I haven't really had a chance to do the comparison, but, I mean, I don't know.
To me, I mean, I think the question of whether or not we wanna have the fund protected from policy changes down the line, it has less to do with who the investment manager essentially is, which is sort of what we're talking about, than it does who the fund's controlled by. I mean, I think if we have concerns about ACSD, about the ACSD board having sort of ultimate policy control over the fund, then we probably would need to look at a vehicle like a trust or something else to actually move it into a separate.
Right, and I think that's what there are various options you can do through the community foundation that would have it more tight.
I mean, I think as long as the ultimate sort of owner of the fund is the district, then the new board is gonna be the one that sets the policy for the fund regardless. Which may be fine, or if people want something different, then we'd have to actually transfer the ownership of the fund to some other entity.
I don't know, what do you guys think we should do?
I mean, I'd have to look at the Vermont Community Foundation stuff.
Do you wanna look at it? Can we put you in charge of looking at it and?
I mean, I didn't realize that there was a question of the job that Peoples was doing, I didn't realize that was on the.
I don't know that there
Table,
is a
yeah.
question about it. I just, the reason I'm concerned is that once we become non-existent, there's nothing we can do then.
Right.
So, trying to make sure that over the next year, we're comfortable with where things are sitting,
Yeah,
and that we feel like we've done everything that we need to do to
Mhm.
protect the fund. And maybe it is okay where it is, and
Right.
maybe we've done everything we need to do, I don't know for sure. And I can certainly do the research and look into it, I'm just not sure I have the time.
yeah, I mean, I can read over the material, but I think it sounds like your question is more a question for legal counsel as to where we think is more legally binding
Okay.
approach for that. But
I
maybe
can't-
I'm wrong on that, I don't know.
No, you're probably right on that. So why don't I give this to you to look at?
Okay.
And you and I can touch base after you've had a chance to look at it, and I will talk, we have to talk to legal counsel about something else, so I can see about this question for him. But if you can take care of this, looking at this and seeing what you think, because you know what you're talking, I mean, you have some knowledge about this
It's
stuff.
important that we know what people's fees are also.
Right, and we have that information, that's a good point, we got that information from People's last time, that it was a little vague as to how much we paid in the fee. You were the one that asked about it, somebody I talked to after the board meeting had a concern about what did we actually pay, maybe it was you, I don't remember who it was, if I done. And so sort of comparing that aspect of it too, which are we, is it more expensive to have it at People's, or is it more expensive to have it at the Community Foundation? I don't know. And the person I talked to was Pat.
Yeah,
Um,
I got it in with them.
yeah, exactly. Anyway, so maybe we can just take that up at the next meeting and you and I can do some research. The other legal thing is I got the check from Mary Johnson for the,
Oh, good.
yeah. I was like, whoa, I don't want this, I have to give it to Peter. But it's for their payout of the mortgage, which goes to our budget next year. And we have to make sure that we take care of the legal property transfer and sign all those documents. So we need to talk to the lawyer about that anyway, so maybe we can just do both of them at the same time and make sure we are dotting our i's, crossing our t's. So, does anybody else have anything to add on either of these?
Can
Tom, yeah, go
I,
ahead.
just one thing on the McGilton fund.
Mhm.
In the policy, it talks about this, providing the 4.5% annual distribution based on the 12 quarter rolling average.
Mhm.
And you remember we had some difficulty getting that last quarter's
Yeah.
number.
Yeah,
So I did submit, and the board did approve, a slightly more modest budget for
Mhm.
McGilton fund spending based on not knowing what the
Right.
last
Mhm.
quarter was. When I am looking back at that with what we are planning for enrichment for the coming year, I would like to either resubmit for the board's consideration or have the board give us the opportunity or the authority to spend up to that 4.5%. Because we're probably closer to, I don't know, it might be something like 4.2% or 4.1% of that current amount, but there were a few $1,000s that I'm anticipating wanting to spend in the coming year for enrichment for our students. But right now, we don't have, because we didn't know that last quarter.
Do we know that last quarter now?
We
we
did.
do know it
Or
now.
did it come in?
It came in higher,
Okay.
but do you not have room in the actual budget for these enrichment expenses?
It will lessen the total number of enrichment activities that we're able to add, to allow for next year. It won't affect a number of the core activities like
Kiwi
Peak.
and.
ropes, swimming, those sorts of things. But the number of, say, outside groups that we might have come in and perform for our students, those sorts of things, it might start to affect those. Because we're down, and it's still my reading here, it's not to provide up to, it's to provide a 4.5% annual distribution for that spending pool.
But we added a pretty significant amount of money to the budget for field trips.
Right. And then
And-
we changed the need for some of that by keeping the bus.
Uh-huh. Okay. Well, if you feel like it's gonna be a problem, why don't you bring a proposal to the next meeting, and we can take a look at it then, and
I'd like to do that,
justification
and-
for the proposal, sure.
Share with the board.
Um,
Thank you.
Yeah, so in the Community Foundation has the same formula, it's a pretty standard formula for endowment spending, a 3-year rolling average. And they have a 5% policy. Now, whether we could have 4.5%, we went a little bit more conservative. Or we have to go with their 5%, I don't know, I didn't get into any of the details, I just kind of got the general. Okay. And then the policy stuff we have on the agenda. So moving forward, our board probably won't do any policy stuff, because all the policy stuff is sort of for future purposes, but these ended up on our agenda. And I think they are mostly to stay in line with the changes to the law. Do you have any changes?
I think the JFJC is actually a required update. If I'm remembering correctly.
Okay.
This was a while ago, the policy committee addressed this, but this is, I believe this is a required update.
Is that the HIV one?
No, this is the
Is
hazing
that the hazing?
and bullying. And then again, I think at this point, most of these amendments are updates, they're either required or they're recommended changes from the SBA. The policies that we're talking about rescinding, communicable diseases, is not just an out-of-date policy, but it's, on its own, sort of inherently discriminatory. And it's also, essentially moved because, Department of Health guidelines really govern what a school does with respect to any communicable disease concerns that come up. So it was the clear recommendation of the ACSU policy committee to rescind that policy. And then the student conduct and discipline, I'm sorry, it was like months ago that we talked about this in the committee. Again, I think that's also just updates. Oh, this is actually driven, I think, by the changes in the federal law on weapons definitions. And similarly with the employee harassment, those are also changes that are externally driven.
What about the ones to review, transportation and employee harassment?
The employee harassment is that's driven by recommended or required changes. Transportation, I don't recall having discussed, so I'm not sure where that comes from. The employee harassment is a required change. Where's the transportation?
It's EEA.
No, I'm looking for it.
It's not clear what we're changing in it.
Wait, which one are we on?
Transportation?
Transportation services. I don't know what that one is, why that's on the agenda.
Doesn't look like, from my recollection of this policy, that anything was changed, but.
Does that usually mark out
Yeah.
the things? You can see what's changing.
They may not have given us the right version, I'm not sure. But we could, can you ask about that, Jason, and what's going on with the transportation and whether we need to do it? These are just, the transportation and employee harassment are just for review. I guess these are all just for review.
And maybe I'm just on the calendar for review, I think at this point we shouldn't take any action on it.
Okay,
How about that?
all right.
I thought we looked at the, communicable disease one last time.
That one I think has been one previously,
Yeah, I thought they had two.
and I think that we missed a vote on it or something.
Yeah, I put these off because we were dealing with budget and we were under so
Okay,
much
okay.
pressure on the budget that I
Right,
didn't
right.
wanna have to talk about them.
Yep, yep.
So that, I think we did review,
Yeah, cause when I read them yesterday, I thought.
I know I
I've read
talked
these
about the
before.
communications
Yeah,
policy
Yeah.
Right,
before, so.
yeah.
so we could vote to rescind JG and JHCC. Or just the
Okay.
communicable diseases, which, since we know we've talked about that.
Yep.
Okay, so rescind JHCC, and then the other ones we don't think have come up for a double, you're looking.
Okay, so the student transportation policy was amended by the central board in April of 15, so a year ago.
Okay.
There's an update.
And was it to change from principal to superintendent? That's what, the last time
That's
we
what I
looked at that, but
thought it was, which is what this does.
since we're dealing with this for two boards, it gets confusing. So which we did.
Can you pull up the ACSU policy?
On the website?
Yeah.
Sure. The transportation one?
Yeah, so it's EEA.
I do remember,
But we have no link.
there's no link, yeah. Okay. I do remember changing that from, it used to say principal, or, oh, I know, the change that the ACSU board made was supposed to be in consultation with the principal. Because there was one principal that wanted to make sure he or she continued to be consulted. And so, I think it was Cornwall, because I remember John Agend talking about this.
Right.
Does this ring a bell to anybody who's on the ACSU board?
No, I wasn't.
Say it again, I'm sorry.
John Agend, who was the former Cornwall chair, made a motion at the ACSU board level to amend the transportation policy to say that it would be, that routes would be set by the superintendent in consultation with the principal. And
As
that's,
opposed to what, that was the change in the language?
yeah, it was
from
principal, and then it got changed to superintendent, and then he wanted it, that board wanted it changed to be superintendent in consultation with the principal.
That sounds familiar, yes.
Okay, so is that what this draft says that's before us?
I don't know what this draft is for us, because it says it's warned and adopted in 2014, so I don't think we have a new draft.
Yeah, I don't know that they
I
gave
think-
us the right draft.
I think at
somewhere.
this point, we should not bother with this, because, so the employee harassment, student bullying, those are all district-wide policies that were amended recently by ACSU and that are based on model policy, and or changes in federal law.
Okay, so
But
is
this
there
one-
anything we need to do tonight? Should we rescind communicable diseases if that's the one we know we do?
Might as well.
I think we have also previously warned, oh no, those are these all review?
Well, they all say review, but I know we've reviewed
Yeah,
communicable.
they say review.
Yeah, let's
without
just
review
get that out of the
and
way.
rescind.
I move we rescind policy JHCC, communicable diseases.
Second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Excellent, so we'll do that because we can. And
That was you, anything to say?
the other ones,
Yes.
we'll wait to see if we need to do anything with them. And we'll make sure we get the correct drafts next time. Okay, awesome. Okay, future meetings, we have one on the books for April 11th. We will see if there's anything we need to do, but let's have a goal of getting some people submitting us letters for being on the board. And anything else that we need to talk about? Tom?
And just to confirm, Ruth.
Yep.
We'll post on the webpage a call for any new people who are interested in being board members, and they submit letter of interest and resume submitted to you.
Mm-hmm.
If we've posted in the paper in the past, we'd also post again. If I find out that that's.
If we've not done it, then just do whatever we've done in the past.
Okay, great.
And,
And then I will bring in a slightly altered McGilton fund budget, a little bit more robust, that will use the 4.5% of that rolling 12-quarter average for your
Okay.
consideration.
So next time we'll do that, the review of McGilton budget. If we have information from legal counsel or
Yeah.
from, we'll talk about McGilton. New board member. And then if policies, if we're still doing that, and we'll get more information at this next meeting.
Yeah, it's the policy committee's recommendation that the ACSU board not continue with policy work. on that
Yeah,
until-
that's what I thought.
Unless there's something required.
It just gets too confusing, and this will be the new
Well,
board that deals with
it's
it.
sort of like rearranging deck chairs. so-
Yeah.
so.
Yeah.
And they will transfer, but they don't necessarily transfer unless the new board says that they transfer. so.
Right, it's really twice.
All right, anything else? Okay, motion to adjourn,
So moved.
all those in favor?